intellectual. My name is I'm the one that's your mother's crave. And you know that. And I know Dave. And Dave knows wrestling. Keep hanging with Dave and have yourself an eargasm.
What's in a name? Well, rose by any other name may smell as sweet. A wrestler can go through a few nom de plume before hitting it big. And for some, like Hulk Hogan, The Rock, and definitely Billy Gunn, their stage name gave them a presence that their real names could never deliver on. But in contrast, with cases like Randy Orton, Kurt Angle, and definitely Brock Lesnar, a birth name is sometimes right on the money for the wrestling business. However, with that being said, there is still another category to consider. A category that just happens to be the subject of this episode. Because today, Dave knows 7 wrestlers whose real names are better than their wrestling names. Sasha Banks. Well, the Banks statement is a cool play on her pseudonym, and the Banks statement is the culmination of character work that was created with the assistance of her cousin Snoop Dogg, which, guess what, that's not his real name either, and the whole Sasha Banks name does work well with the whole legit boss gimmick. Some fans will be surprised to learn that Sasha Banks' real name is even more luxurious sounding, because outside of the WWE, Sasha Banks is really known as Mercedes Ton. Being named after one of the premier luxury cars makes you even more glamorous than just being named Banks. Sure, Banks may be where the money's at, but Mercedes will always be for the upper class. Which is probably why in her time before the WWE and before she received her married name of Ton, she used the name Mercedes as a ring name. Just too bad that she ended up dropping it when she entered the Performance Center. Erick Rowan. This bludgeon brother may get lost in the shuffle from time to time, and he did get flattened by The Rock at WrestleMania, but maybe that's because he has a pretty flat name when you think about it. Erick Rowan? That's the name of a guy who sits in your office or behind you in algebra class. What kind of name is that for a wrestler? It does seem like they're going for a whole Nordic name thing, but I just don't think it comes through. It's just too plain. I mean, just look at Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper, Braun Strowman, and Erick Rowan. We clearly see who must have been in the bathroom when they were handing out names to the Wyatt family. And all this is made all the more perplexing when you consider that Erick Rowan's real name is Joe Rude, spelled R-U-U-D. Now, the last name of Rude has been a wrestling staple from Rick to Bobby. Even if it's spelled differently, using it as a ring name sounds way cooler than Erick Rowan ever could. Dean Ambrose. Dean has something of a history with nomenclature oddities. For one, there are those who will point out that the term lunatic fringe is a bit of a grammatical problem. But also, the name Ambrose is a surprising choice since its religious context seemingly has nothing to do with his character. But maybe the WWE just likes the way it sounds, especially with the name Dean attached, which is a pretty cool first name. However, it's still nothing like the name John Moxley, which is Dean's previous gimmick, but still, it's not his real name either. His birth name is Jonathan Good. Okay, so it may not fit the Shield member and former CCW star, but the last name of Good still has a lot of gimmick potential. I mean, Johnny B. Good? It's right there. Roddy Piper. The name Piper in wrestling means one man and one man only, and as far as I'm concerned, the name Roddy also means one man and one man only. So all you Roderick Strong fans out there, as much as I like him, you gotta stop calling him Roddy. But back to the lecture at hand. The last name of Piper was given to really drive home the whole Scottish gimmick, as if the kilt wasn't enough by itself. But in doing so, something of a missed opportunity came up, because Roddy's real name isn't Roddy Piper, it's Roderick Toombs. A last name even suited for the supervillain the Vulture. And so while Piper always will be the man, it's just a shame that such a cool name for a wrestler wasn't used at all. Kevin Owens. Now, this one has an additional reason behind why I think KO should use his real name. When Kevin joined NXT, he became Kevin Owens, which is, as many will point out, WWE's way of getting a trademark out of a guy who already has a following. And that's exactly my problem with it. Now yes, I do think it's really cool that KO is paying homage to Owen Hart with his current moniker, but all the same, I would much prefer that he go with the name that made him famous. His birth name, Kevin Steen. For those of you who remember Kevin back before NXT, you will no doubt remember chants and shirts saying, "Kill Steen, kill." Plus, I just think that Steen sounds better. And sure, KO Mania and a lot of the merch that the WWE has been putting out with the Owens name attached to it is pretty cool, but not to get too overly phonetic or anything, but the harsh ST sound followed by the hard E is just a tougher sounding word in and of itself. The B Team. Continuing with the idea that last names sometimes have an earned value with them, this next entry is a 2-for-1. Now I will admit that Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas have a certain verbal aesthetic to them, but the problem here for me is that, as is the case with Kevin Steen, their real names carry a certain weight to them that just can't be bought in the wrestling world. Because Bo Dallas is really Taylor Rotunda, and is part of the famous Rotunda family, as well as a part of the famous Wyndham family. And Curtis Axel is an even more curious case, because when he became a Paul Heyman guy, yeah, that's right, for those of you who remember that happening, Heyman announced that he would be named Curtis in honor of his father Kurt Hennig, and Axel in honor of his grandfather Larry the Axe Hennig, making it very odd that Heyman would acknowledge this as a phony name, especially after talking about his family's lineage. And it's also a little sad looking back on it, because Heyman said that this would be an historic moment, but yet most people don't remember the moment when Joe Hennig became a Paul Heyman guy. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Ricky is one of the best wrestlers who ever lived, as many fans of in-ring work will tell you, which makes it all the more confusing as to why he got such a weird last name like Steamboat? I mean, who is he, Mickey Mouse? And in terms of wrestling, why a steamboat of all things? I mean, a warship, a battleship, or something. Alright, so it's not as bad as Tugboat, but still, it's a very odd choice. And it's even weirder still since Ricky has a totally badass real name in real life, which is Richard Blood. I mean, how awesome does that sound? Who would you be more afraid of meeting in a dark alley? Ricky Steamboat or Richard Blood? Well, there you go, a list of wrestlers who I think have a much cooler name in real life than they do in wrestling. But what do you think? Who else benefits from going au naturel in the name game? Let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe right here to Dave Knows Wrestling. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, Dave knows.